All right, what's going on, guys? So it is Monday, or not Monday, Sunday, after UFC 260, Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic, number two. And Francis Ngannou is now the world heavyweight champion. He knocked out Stipe in the second round. Um, pretty vicious. It was, stunned him with a hard jab, and then dropped Stipe. Stipe got up, landed a few punches. Francis landed a few more punches, and then Stipe actually had a nice right hand. That he, in the midst of those punches, landed a nice right hand over the top, connected a little bit. It looked like Francis might have been a little taken back by that. He says he was resetting, like because that's what he was taught to do in his camp, reset when stuff like that is happens. So we'll take him at his word. He reset and was able to land a vicious left hook, connected right on the chin, and dropped Stipe and landed a big bomb, hammer fist down, boom, Herb Dean stops the fight. So my takeaways from the fight are it's just I was I bet I bet on Francis to win. I thought that even though Stipe was able to control him in the first fight and weather the storm and in that first round, and then was able to come back and was able to tire Ngannou out and then take him down and control him for the rest of the fight in that first one. Even though that happened, I thought that Francis, training with all these great trainers that he was, moving out to Vegas, training with Kamaru Usman on his takedown defense, which is another key factor into this fight. Stipe shot a takedown on him, knowing that this is what he did to beat Francis in the first fight, was take him down and wearing him out that way. Francis was able to stuff the head, and was able to sprawl and was able to actually take his back, and landed some good shots on him. Actually, cut open Stipe's eye, like right here, and there's some damage there. I mean, as soon as that was my one concern. I wanted to see Ngannou. I had faith that he was, because I know how hard he works, and and he was training with, like I said, with guys like Kamaru and other great wrestlers, working on his takedown defense, because he knew that Stipe was going to eventually try to shoot, and he did in the first round. And when he was able to stuff the takedown, I was like, okay, okay, this is going to be an issue for Stipe. I mean, I think once that happened, I think Stipe was like, oh shit, and Stipe. Let me just say this to get this out of the way. Stipe is the greatest heavyweight champion in UFC history. Okay, look at the names he's beat. Dos Anjos, Arlovsky, Cormier twice. He beat Ngannou the first time. Guys like that, like just absolute killers, and he was able to beat them. And so he's the greatest heavyweight. As of right now, hands down, if someone was to ask me who's the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, I'd say Stipe Miocic without a doubt. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. And I think, I think those wars that he had with Daniel Cormier, I mean, DC is a foot, like, one of the best of all time, and was able to beat him once in that first fight. But those other two fights were really hard fights for Stipe. I mean, if you look at the time in the cage between his last three fights and Ngannou's last three fights, it's ridiculous. I mean, the second fight, it went all the way up to the fourth or fifth round. I can't remember, but fourth or fifth round, and then the third fight went to decision. It's like, that's a lot of time in the cage. And as you get older, I mean, Stipe was 38 and Ngannou was 34, and UFC's different with primes. Your prime, when you think of other sports, is like, 27, you hit your prime, and and you're rolling now, and then your prime lasts a lot longer. With UFC, it's weird. Like, you come into your own a lot of the times around that middle of your 30s, like 30, like Ngannou right now, like 32, 34, stuff like that. And Ngannou's 34, but you come into your own around then. and because that comes with the experience of fighting and getting a lot of fights under your belt. Um, so uh, Ngannou is at that point in his stage in his career, and I think how much his striking improved too. Um, he was more patient. He was a lot more patient. He hit Stipe a couple times, and didn't just pounce on him and fucking blow his load. You know, metaphorically, blow his load on, with punches and bunches and stuff like that. Like, he didn't wear himself out. He stunned him, hit him a couple times, and reset, and was very patient and let Stipe come to him, kind of. And when he could pick his shots, that power is ridiculous. The only person that can rival him in that division is Derek Lewis. And if you remember, side note, Derek Lewis beat Francis Ngannou. It was a very boring fight, by UFC standards. They didn't really do anything, because why? Because Francis respected the hell out of Derek Lewis's power. So that's the only person that can match Francis power wise. Um, I just think Francis looks so freaking good, and it's actually really fucking scary. I mean, it is scary. And I love Francis. I love his story. Coming from trying to leave Africa, to try to pursue his dream, and he didn't. He was trying to be. He wasn't planning on being an MMA fighter. He was going to be a boxer, and he found he was he was trying to get to Europe from Africa. He tried for a year. He was basically, if you can go and listen to Joe Rogan, the podcast he was on, or Francis Ngannou was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He talked about his whole backstory, and it's nuts how he's so humble because of that. And I really like guys that are humble, about their beginnings, and that really takes, it really shows with Francis. I mean, he was humble even in when he won. He was very respectful, and you could just tell how happy he was. So it was really cool to see that. But it's scary that if he can translate this now, and he's a more patient fighter and uses that power to his advantage by letting people try to come to him and picking his shots. I mean, oh my, and he in the wrestling too, now that he has, that he at least shown that he can stop a takedown. I think that is absolutely frightening. It is frightening. Now then, so like I said, congratulations to Stipe, greatest of all time, heavyweight of all time. I think, hands down. So we don't know what we're gonna do with Stipe. I'm not gonna speculate like the commentators said, and other people are saying, "Oh, Stipe should retire." No, I think Stipe, if he wants to retire, go ahead. He's had a great career, UFC Hall of Fame, all of that. Maybe he wants to fight. Maybe he'll try to get Francis again. I don't think that'll happen, because I think Dana White's looking for the John Jones fight, which we'll talk in a minute. But Stipe, whatever he decides to do, we shouldn't be like, oh, we should do this or we should do that, because we don't know. We don't know what he's thinking and what he wants to do. So we're just gonna. I think we should all just we'll find that out. But I don't think they should make the Francis. I don't think there should be a rubber match. I really don't. I don't. Especially now with Stipe's career, I don't think that's wise. I think Stipe needs to come back a little bit. But like I said, congratulations to him. Now moving on to what Dana White was saying before the fight was, the winner of this is going to get John Jones at heavyweight. Now I'm gonna disclaimer: John Jones is next to Conor McGregor. Conor got me into UFC. Excuse me. Next to Conor McGregor, John Jones is my favorite fighter. So just a disclaimer. I don't think John, because people are saying, oh, because he tweeted, show me the money, and all that stuff. Like, people are saying, oh, he's scared. Like, Dana White's saying that, oh, he should move down to 85 instead of going up to 265. It's like no, like, just because a fighter wants to get paid. Okay, because that is going to be, John Jones knows that it's going to be the biggest fight in history. I mean, Francis versus John Jones, the greatest of all time, in my opinion, next to GSP. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou, who's an absolute killer and looks better than he ever looked. That is going to be a super fight. That's going to be the biggest fight in UFC history. Bigger than Conor and Khabib. Bigger. Okay? that fight is going to be very, very, very scary. Um, and it should be a great fight. I think it'll be a lot more competitive though than uh than Stipe versus Ngannou from yesterday. Because I think John Jones is more cerebral with his striking, and he's able. I think he's a better. I think he's just a better all around fighter. I think he's a better wrestler. I think he's better at jiu-jitsu. I think he's better on on the feet than Stipe is. And that reach advantage he still has. I think he'll have an inch or two, or inch and a half actually, reach on Ngannou, but still that's not as big as what he hit the advantage was at light heavyweight. But still, I think Francis will have a much harder time against John Jones. Um, so I'm not going to give predictions on the fight. I don't know who. I honestly don't know because it's so fresh. But what I would say to the UFC and Dana White is that you cannot let this fight sit. Like you can't. You gotta. It's Francis said July. He said he's willing to fight in July or August. You can have it fight on fight week, or yeah, in July, the July 4th weekend. You can have him fight then or in August, but you cannot let this fight sit till like fall or winter. You can't. John Jones will be out for over 20 months then. He hasn't fought since he fought Dominic Reyes. And he's been training. He's at heavyweight right now. He's been training. He's getting back into the striking. He's been lifting weights like a motherfucker, and he's huge now. And he's been preparing to move up for heavyweight, and he's been waiting for this fight to have to, because he should be the number one contender. He's the greatest of all time, and he should get that heavyweight title shot first, no matter who won. If it was Stipe, it should have been Jones, and if it was Ngannou, like it did, like it turned out yesterday, it should have been Jones. So he should have fought the winner, or should fight the winner. Now, I think that they'll get it done relatively quickly. Hopefully, I'm praying. Um, and now that I think now everyone knows that the UFC is going back to full fans in Florida on April 24th, and they're going to, for Michael Chandler and Oliveira, they're in Houston, Texas, and they're gonna have all like full fans, full attendance, I should say. And I think that fight, Jones and Ngannou, I don't think any pay-per-view now is gonna have any. It's not gonna be at the Apex. I don't think at all anymore. I think Dana White's done with that. I think he wants the fans. I think because UFC's missing that gate, that they need. So I think with fans and with just how big of a fight Jones versus Ngannou is, I think it'll be an absolute. I think it's gonna be. I cannot wait. I really cannot wait. I always like the matchup wise with Stipe and Jones because they're more kind of this like similar like fighting style, and they don't so. But Ngannou versus Jones is very intriguing, and I actually now with the result that happened and how good Francis looked and how patient he was, I really like this fight and I really want to see it. Yeah, so like I said, Francis, if he can beat Jones, who's the greatest of all time, I think his stock just rises through the roof, and the UFC is behind him. They are behind Francis. They want him to, they're gonna want Francis to beat Jones, and they're gonna want, that stock to rise because that power, the humbleness, the beginnings of his childhood, him being the heavyweight champ, which everyone loves the big guys, and the heavyweight champ means something, in all combat sports. So they're gonna put the rocket ship on him if he can beat Jones, and that fight needs to happen in the summer, July or August. It needs to happen. So like I said, I'm not gonna give any predictions. I think it'll be a great fight, and I hope you guys watched UFC 260 because it was a great card. It actually, it wasn't a late one. It wasn't. It got over around 12, maybe 12:30 ish, I think. There's a lot of knockouts, and just to summarize, a little quickly, go into the other fights. Sean O'Malley came back and was able to off of his injury, and he was able to beat I forgot the kid's name, but yeah, he was able to beat him, and yeah, he secured a knockdown. The one thing Sean O'Malley needs to stop doing though is trying to get those knockout, like those walk-off knockouts, because that's not going to happen all the time. You can't flatline people all the time. They're, it's not like that one highlight you see where he's fucking sends the straight right down the middle and just flatlines the guy and walks off. Like that's not gonna happen all the time. Like you gotta pounce on guys and and end the fights, because you can't. That was just because I bet on and you. I'm not just saying this because I bet on Sean O'Malley to win by knockout, and I was sweating because it was like a minute. Like a little bit over a minute left for him to secure a knockout, and I was sweating, and I was so pissed off. I was gonna be so mad that he didn't, pounce on the guy in the first round or first or second. No, first round. When he did originally. So, but he secures the knockout, and Sean O'Malley, I think, is a absolute contender in the bantamweight division. He should get a very high profile fight. Next. I'm not sure who they can match up with, because that division's kind of loaded right now. Obviously we got Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw soon. We still don't know what they're going to do with Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. I think they should run it back again. But that division is really good. It's really good. Maybe him and Dominic Cruz fight. Who knows? But and then next fight was the co-main, Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque, and it was actually. I mean, I thought that was. I thought Tyron looked much more aggressive. He came out and immediately just tried to grapple with him, and it was very aggressive. And Tyron, was very aggressive. He actually clipped Luque maybe once or twice, and was trying to explode. But Vicente he has that power too, and was able to clip him, and Tyron was stumbling all over the cage after that punch. I mean, he was rocked for a very long time, and Vicente Luque was able to get him down to the ground, and he put him in the Darce choke, and that was it. And Tyron tapped. So that's 4 straight losses for Tyron Woodley, and he, like I said, I don't like speculating or saying what fighters should do. Tyron's going to do just like Stipe. Tyron's going to do whatever he wants to do. If that was the last time we see him in fighting in general, or if that was the last time in UFC, he has nothing. I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of. I think him. I think he's one of the top welterweights, welterweight champions of all time. Obviously, GSP's first, then Kamaru, and then Woodley's right up there because he ran through some killers: Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which is how Wonderboy has looked now. That looks like a really good victory looking back at it. But I think Tyron. I've always said this too. Tyron should move up to 185. I think he would dominate there. I think he just looks so big, and he's so fast and explosive and athletic. I think he could really do well at 185. That way he doesn't have to cut weight. I don't know how much weight he's cutting, but it's definitely, I would say, a lot. So maybe if he didn't have to cut weight so much, and he still came in with this mindset of, he said he was being the passenger to his coaches and not being in the driver's seat, which is good. GSP said that you have to have people that put you in uncomfortable situations. So I think Tyron should move up to 185. I've always said this, but who knows? But like I said, Tyron shouldn't be ashamed. Obviously, in defeat, it's hard, but he's one of the greatest welterweights of all time. And but yeah, so and Vicente Luque, I don't want to talk about Tyron this whole time because Vicente Luque should get his shine, but Vicente Luque looked absolutely great, and he was ranked 10th. He's gonna easily be close to the top 5. He is a legit contender in this division. He has the power. He has the ground game and the wrestling. But he's a dark horse candidate contender in this division, in this 170-pound division. So that was the whole UFC 260 card. Those 3 fights, the 3 main fights. I don't want this video to go on too much longer, but yeah, let me know what you guys think should happen in the aftermath of UFC 260. What do you think Stipe should do? What do you think he will do? Let me know what you guys think of, in all likelihood, it's going to be Francis versus John Jones. So let me know what you guys think will happen, what will be the result of that fight, and when it will take place. And just let just in general, let me know about what what your opinions were on the UFC 260 card. Like I said, I thought it was a really good card. There was a lot of knockouts and a lot of finishes. So, like I said, appreciate you guys checking in, listening to me ramble about UFC 260. Next pay-per-view is UFC 261. First crowded event since the UFC shut down, or since the world shut down basically from COVID. So first crowded event in the arena, ViStar Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. 15,000 fans, sold out. Should be a great fight. We got Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Wei Li, and we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade in the co-main, and then the main event is Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal too. So I'll probably do a video on that as it gets closer. But yeah, like I said, let me know about all the things, what your feelings were after watching UFC 260 in the comments. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Do all that good YouTube stuff. I appreciate you listening to me. I'll catch you guys when I see you guys.